Yep. Yeah.
Tried to destroy, there's a prayer Jesus taught to his inner circle that was systematically removed from every Christian scripture. Not because it was heretical, because it worked too well. The prayer contains specific words that when spoken with full consciousness create a frequency archons cannot penetrate. Chosen ones who spoke this forbidden prayer reported something undeniable. Archon attack stopped immediately. Not gradually, not over weeks. The moment they finished speaking, the oppression lifted. The mental fog cleared. The energy drain ended. Tonight, you're learning the exact forbidden prayer the church erased. The words Jesus taught. The technique archons fear more than any ritual you could ever perform. And you need to speak it tonight. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Before the archons recognize what you've learned and intensify their attacks to stop you from using it. If you're speaking the forbidden prayer tonight, comment, "I defeat archons" right now. The night before they arrested him, Jesus gathered his inner circle and taught them something that never made it into the Bible. He told them, stop praying like you're begging a distant God for help. You don't need to pray. You need to command. Prayer is asking. Commanding is declaring. When you command, you're speaking as the monad, not to the monad. And archons can intercept prayers, but they can't touch commands because commands operate at a frequency they can't perceive. When the church compiled the New Testament, they removed every reference to this forbidden prayer. Why? Because if Christians knew they could command archons directly without priests, without sacraments, without institutional approval, the entire power structure collapses. You speak 9 words. Archons flee. The church becomes irrelevant. But the Gnostics preserved it in text the church tried to burn. And tonight, you're receiving what Jesus taught 2,000 years ago. Before I reveal the words, understand why this works when every prayer you've tried has failed. When you pray the church way, your words go through layers of intermediaries. Saints, angels, hierarchies. Every layer is a filter where archons intercept and drain your energy. They built that system, not God. Every time you pray from need or fear, you broadcast separation frequency. I'm powerless, God is separate, please help me. That's what archons feed on. They don't care if you get what you prayed for. They already got your energy, your surrender, your belief that you're separate from divine power. The forbidden prayer bypasses every intermediary. Direct line. You to source. No filters. And here's the critical difference. You're not begging, you're commanding. Not from victim frequency, from sovereign frequency. You're declaring you are the monad in human form. At that unity frequency, archons are blind. They can't perceive it, can't interfere with it, can't drain it. You've exited their range completely. Now I'm giving you the exact words. But understand this, if you just repeat them without consciousness, nothing happens. The words aren't magic. They're frequency. And frequency requires understanding. These 3 declarations create a connection archons cannot.
Jesus gathered his inner circle in an upper room in Jerusalem. Peter, John, Mary Magdalene. They could feel something terrible approaching. The air was thick with tension. They'd been praying for hours, begging God to protect their teacher, to stop what was coming. And Jesus looked at them with something between compassion and frustration. He said, "You're still praying like children asking a distant father for help. I've shown you miracles. I've taught you the mysteries. And you still don't understand. You don't need to pray. You need to call." Peter didn't understand. What's the difference? Jesus leaned forward. Prayer is asking. Calling is declaring. When you pray, you're speaking to something separate from you, something far away that might or might not hear you. When you call the monad, you're not asking permission. You're activating what's already inside you. You're speaking as the monad, not to the monad. And the archons? They can intercept prayers. They feed on the energy of begging, of separation. But they can't touch a call. Because a call operates at a frequency they can't even perceive. That teaching never made it into the Bible. The church removed every reference to the monad call from canonical scripture because if Christians knew they could bypass prayer entirely, the entire religious power structure would collapse overnight. But the Gnostics preserved it. Hidden in text the church tried to burn. And tonight, you're receiving what Jesus taught to the chosen ones in that upper room 2,000 years ago. Not prayer. The monad call. The technique archons fear more than any ritual you could ever perform. If you're calling the monad tonight, comment, "I call the monad" right now. Before I give you the exact words Jesus taught, you need to understand why prayer doesn't work the way you were told it works. Most people have been taught that prayer is how you communicate with God. You bow your head, you speak your needs, your fears, your requests, and somewhere in the heavens, God hears you and decides whether to answer. Maybe he says yes. Maybe he says no. Maybe he says wait. And you accept that framework because that's what you were taught since childhood. But here's what actually happens when you pray the way the church taught you to pray. Your words don't go directly to the monad. They can't. Because the religious system was specifically designed with layers of intermediaries. You pray to Jesus, who intercedes to the Father. Or you pray to Mary, who intercedes to Jesus. Or you pray to saints, who intercede to higher angels, who might eventually carry your request up the hierarchy. Every layer is a filter. Every layer is a point where your prayer can be intercepted, redirected, or drained of energy before it ever reaches source.
You're praying to an entity that is not going to do anything for you, will not save you at all. All you're doing is giving away your vital energy. It's not worth it.